She Persisted, written by Elsa Clinton, illustrated by Alexandra Boger. Sometimes being a girl isn't easy. At some point, someone will probably tell you no. They'll tell you to be quiet and may even tell you your dreams are impossible. Don't listen to them. These 13 American women certainly did not take a no for an answer. They persisted. Harriet Tubman was a born slave, and her story could have ended there. Instead, she persisted, escaping from slavery and becoming the most famous conductor on the Underground Railroad. She risked her life many times to lead countless slaves to freedom, including her family, friends, and strangers. Every person she led to freedom arrived safely. She said, "I should fight for my liberty as long as my strength lasted." Once Helen Keller became blind and deaf as a toddler, few people thought she'd be able to learn to read, write, or speak, but she persisted. Helen learned how to do all three and not only become the first person with deaf blindness to graduate from college, but she used her story to help fight for more opportunities for people with disability in the United States and around the whole world. She said, "One can never consent to creep when one feels an impulse to soar." After her family fled poverty and the threat of violence in Ukraine for a new home in New York City, Clara Lemlich got a job working at a garment factory. She wrote that the factory's condition made women into machines, and so she persisted, organizing picket lines and strikes that ultimately helped win better pay and shorter hours and safer work conditions for thousands of workers, both women and men. She said, "I'm one of those who suffer from the abuse described here, and I move that we go on a general strike." Nella Bell became a reporter in a part because a male writer had said that working women were a monstrosity, and she wanted to prove that women could do anything, at times putting her safety at risk. She persisted throughout her career in exposing real monstrosity, pretending to be a sweatshop worker and a patient in a mental hospital to show how badly people were being treated. She said, "I have never written a word that did not come from my heart, and I never shall." Inspired from an early age by her brother's childhood illness, Virginia Abgar was determined to be a doctor, long before many girls had such dreams. Even though she qualified to be a surgeon, the male head surgeon at her hospital discouraged her because she was a woman. Nevertheless, she persisted, becoming an anesthesiologist and creating the Apgar score to test a newborn baby's health, which hospitals all over the world still use today. She said, "Nobody, but nobody is going to stop breathing on me." After Maria Telsheff's family moved to California, partly to support Maria's dream of becoming a dancer. She was teased by students in school for her Native American heritage, and later was encouraged to change her last name to something that sounded Russian, since many professional dancers at that time were from Russia. She persisted, ignoring all the taunting and poor advice to become the first great American prima ballerina. She said, "It never occurred to me to say, it's hard to do that." As a 15-year-old riding a bus home from school in Montgomery, Alabama, Claudia Colvin was expected to give up her seat to a white woman just because she was African American. In her refusal to get up, she persisted in taking a stand for what's right, helping to inspire Rosa Parks to make the same choice 9 months later and act many points to as the starting of the modern civil rights movement. She said, I knew then, and I know now that when it comes to justice, there is no easy way to get it. You can't sugarcoat it. You have to take a stand and say, this isn't right. This is not right. When Ruby Bridge was in kindergarten, many schools across America, particularly in the South, still refuse African American students their equal rights to an education. Ruby wouldn't be treated like a second class student, and she persisted, walking for weeks past anger, hateful protesters, to integrate an all white elementary school in New Orleans. She said, that faithful walk to school began a journey, and we all must work together to continue moving forward. As the first woman to serve as both a U.S. representative and a U.S. senator, Margaret Chase Smith could have let that fact alone be her legacy. Instead, she persisted in championing women's rights and more opportunities for women in the military, standing up for free speech and supporting space exploration. The head of NASA once noted that we wouldn't have put a man on the moon without Margaret. She said, the right way is not always the popular and easy way. Standing for right when it is unpopular is a true test of moral character. Sally Ride always believed women could succeed in any math or science career. Although not everyone agreed, she persisted, and she became the first American woman in space. But that wasn't enough for Sally. She traveled into space once more and then created science and engineering programs especially for girls so she could help generations of young women achieve their dreams too, both on Earth and in outer space. She said, young girls need to see role models in whatever careers they may choose, just so they can picture themselves doing these jobs someday. You can't be what you can't see. As a kid, Florence Griffith Joyner visited her father in the Mojave Desert. He would urge her to run faster and faster, to run as fast as Jackrabbit. Even when she had to leave college to help support her family, she persisted in her training on track, then went back to school, got faster and faster. Her unbroken world record in the 100-meter and 200-meter sprint set at the 1988 Summer Olympics means she's still the fastest woman ever. She said, when anyone tells me I can't do anything, I'm just not listening anymore. Oprah Winfrey's grandmother expected Oprah to follow in her footsteps and become a maid. Oprah knew, even as a little girl, that her dreams would take her somewhere else. She persisted in turning those dreams into her reality and becoming a media superstar, working in movies, books, magazine, theater, and most of all, television, where The Oprah Winfrey Show remains the highest rated talk show of all time. She said, the biggest adventure you can ever take is to live the life of your dreams. Watching fictional judges on television inspired Sonia Sotomayor to want to be a real life judge when she grew up. She knew she'd have to speak English as well as she spoke Spanish, studying hard in school and managing her diabetes before she could one day wear a judge's robe. With a gavel in hand, she persisted, eventually becoming a Supreme Court justice and the first ever Latina to sit on America's highest court. She said, I have never had to face anything that could overwhelm the native optimism and stubborn perseverance I was blessed with. I think So, if anyone ever tells you no, and if anyone ever says your voice isn't important or your dreams are too big, remember these women. They persisted, so should you. Hi guys, it is discussion time. These are the 3 questions I have for you guys, and just think of an answer you had, please, while I just read through them. Can you think of a time when you kept trying even when it was hard? I'll answer, okay? For me, it was when I first learned how to ride a bicycle. It was a very horrendous experience because I literally got hurt a lot. I literally still have bruises from that time. Um, and it was crazy. Like I kept trying. I think it took me like a month to learn it, but I think it was worth it. And it literally, just like the woman in the book, I was persistent and I kept trying, and never gave up. Okay, which woman in the book inspired you the most, and why is her story important? For me, it was Ruby Bridges because uh, I feel like she was just a kid, just like me, and I feel like she stood up for what was right, and I used to do that. And I feel like even when people were like unkind to her and mean to her, she was nice and she didn't let that like get to her. And I feel like her story teaches us that being brave and never giving up can actually help change the world, even though you can't see it when you're doing it. It's a lot. Okay, last question, which is the third. Why is it important for girls and boys to keep trying even when others say they can't? For me, I think that like if you stop trying, like just because of someone else's opinion, they say you can do something and you just don't do it, you miss out on something amazing. Um think about like athletes, think about doctors, think about astronauts, think about them. If they have if they had given up, we wouldn't have all the cool things that they do. And I feel like everyone deserves a chance to follow their dreams and don't let others people's opinion tell you what you need to do and what you don't need to do. And yeah, that's what I think, and I hope you guys liked my video. It was long. So if you watched it this long, you're the best.